For today's project, something I've been wanting to try for a while. So I have amassed a small collection of arcade cabinets here and in various condition. And while I've gotten most of the electronics and things working correctly, they have some cosmetic flaws that I want to address. And probably the most common thing for people with arcade cabinets to find is that the bottom corners, the front or the back corners are damaged from, just years of being dragged from location to location. And the most common fix for that is to, pull out the T-molding, make a small wooden frame, fill it with Bondo, and then take your slot cutter bit and your router and make a new groove and replace the T-molding. Well, paint the Bondo, maybe replace all the side art on the cabinet even, and then install the new T-molding. But I want to try something a little bit different. And I've pulled out the Star Wars cabinet here because this is going to be our test subject. So let's look at the front left corner here. The front left corner here is in really rough shape. Well, it's completely missing. Someone previously must have tried to do some type of repair with some wood filler. It just fell out, and you could see they spray painted it a little bit here. But this is in rough shape. I could go the traditional route, pun intended, and use a router and a slot cutter bit and fill this with Bondo and then cut a channel for the T-molding. But I had a different idea to 3D print my own form and to also build in the groove for the T-molding. So not only would I not have to route the groove out afterwards, but it would use the track in what's left of the side here to hold this mold perfectly in place so we'd get the correct shape. Let's take a little closer look at the frame here for a second. There is a top. Technically it should be symmetrical, but I found the way that these cabinets are put together over the years, I needed to just take a little bit off. See where the base comes out here? So I needed to make a little room for that. So there's a top, there's a bottom, there's the notch that'll fit into the groove where the T-molding goes. And then there's a little hole here at the top and a little hole here at the bottom. And what I will basically do is when I get this positioned, I will just gently tap in a finish nail here into the cabinet. Don't drive it all the way in. You don't want to make it, it's just there to hold it in place. Doesn't have to be hard to get out. The first thing you want to do is clean out this groove. Any junk that's been in there, especially from where it got banged up here, you want to clean that out and vacuum up all the little particles. Now, some people will drive screws into the particle board to give the Bondo something to hold on to. I'm not always found that that's necessary, but it sort of has the effect of rebar in concrete. A nice compromise I find are these are just panel screws, and they're like a normal screw. They've just got a little bit more kind of like texture on them to hold panel into place. And so that'll give the Bondo something to grip onto. So if you want, you can just tap a couple of these in at various angles. That'll help secure the corner. I'm using this new Bondo. I have not tried this before. This is Bondo Fast Dry, which it says higher bond. I think that's just the reason to charge double the price for it, but I'm going to try it this time. It says it's sandable in 15 minutes. To just dry fit this into place here, if I just line it up here, and you don't want to bend it, it's already designed with the shape of the cabinet in mind. It's based on the original cabinet plans. So that's pretty much good. If you had a rubber mallet, you could tap it in, but again, it should fit perfectly in there. That's ready to put the nails in. And if you look closely though, you will see, if I can move the camera here a little bit, that because this was such a significant chunk of the corner missing, it will go all the way through. So you don't want to fill this with Bondo, even with the T-molding ridge there, it'll just fall through to the bottom. So I will mask off the other side, and I'll do this in 2 phases. Let me clean this up, and let's come back when it's ready to put the first coat of Bondo in. So I've tacked in a couple of panel nails just to give the Bondo something extra to hold on to. And I should mention an important point is that Bondo will stick very nicely to PLA. So if we were just to put this in and put the Bondo in, we would have a hard time removing this. So you want to apply, before you secure this into place, you want to either apply a thin coat of paste wax, or I'm going to use some Smooth On Universal Mold Release. And so I'll spray this onto the PLA piece so that the Bondo will hopefully release a little bit easier. And then I will tack this into place with our 2 finished nails. Our mold release is dry, so now I can tack in the finished nails that will hold the frame in place. Time to mix up some Bondo. Oh, masking off. I've got to mask off that area in the bottom. Then time to put in some Bondo. You can see all I've done is use some blue painter's tape and held it in place with some little cardboard strips. This Bondo is going to dry pretty quickly, and it's okay if it goes under and around the groove there. The groove will still be preserved. We just don't want it all falling through onto the floor. So just make sure you have a good seal there. And now it's time for the magic moment. Well, I should have checked this at Home Depot, but when I took the can off, the lid off the top of the can here, where normally there'd be the hardener for the 2-part thing, it was missing. So this is going back to Home Depot, and we won't be trying the stronger bonding 15-minute version. I luckily have still some of the general purpose Bondo, so we're going to use that. Hopefully I have enough. We'll see what happens. While I'm mixing this up here, let me just massage the hardener tube here a little bit. If you like these videos, if this works and you'd like me to make more of these, maybe something for a cabinet that you have, just please like and subscribe. Thanks very much, I appreciate it. So I'm going to mix this up, and we'll be back in a minute when it's ready to apply. We'll let that dry and we'll come back for the release hopefully and see how that goes. Okay, it's been a little while here, maybe an hour, and this is definitely dry. Now, unfortunately, the one downside of this approach is you have to do this side, and because of the notch, you have to flip the cabinet over to do the other side. But I think we all want to know, is this actually going to come off? Is it all worth it before we go through all that trouble? So I'm going to just lightly sand this a little bit here just to break up where it's right up against the PLA. And I might still need to put another little coat on it, but normally I would suggest doing this side, flipping it over, doing the other side, and then pulling it off. But I really want to see how this approach works. Is the PLA mold going to come off okay? So I'm going to sand it. I can put the mold back on and flip it over and then do the other side. So let's get to it. Moment of truth. I'm going to pull out the finished nails here that are holding the mold in place. That's the bottom one. And then I will try not to block the camera here as I pull out the top one. Let's see here. Wow. Well, I am impressed. Let me give you a little close-up here. So it didn't stick to the mold at all, which is great. Let me try and give you a little close-up here. It's a nice rounded corner. Seams on there, very solid. It's a little bit high, a little bit proud. I'll have to sand it down a little bit. This is the bottom here, and it looks like it filled in pretty well. A little bit dripped down through here for the bottom, but that'll get filled in when we do the other side. I come around to this side here. Looks like we've got a tiny little bit of a little bit of an air gap there. I can easily, right in there, let me get this in focus. I can easily fill that in later. And now we'll repeat the same process for the back corner of the cabinet. Moment of truth, let's take off the frame and see how we did. Let's check the fit with the old T-molding. Of course, I'm going to replace all the T-molding on the cabinet. Looks good. Now I'm going to just put on, for a primer, some Rust-Oleum Flat Black, which is oil-based. And I know I'm going to come back and repair, or rather restore the pattern on the bottom of the cabinet here, so I'm not too worried that I'm sort of painting over where it was. And I find the flat black works pretty well, disappears into the existing cabinet pretty nicely, but it definitely has some sheen, the original cabinet, so I might go back and either, well, most likely I'll probably put some, at least a satin black over the top here. I like to do a little bit of the front edge too in case the T-molding doesn't quite cover it up. It should, but there is some variation over the years in these cabinets. Okay, we'll let that dry, come back and see how things look. Okay, it's just about dry. Corner's looking good. Here's the back corner. That's looking good. And I've also patched the back of this corner here on the bottom. So the painting touch-up stuff I can do when it's standing up. It's time to flip it over and work on the other side of these corners here. On the other side, pretty rough shape. This wood here is a little bit scraped up, but as far as the side goes, well, this whole piece has just got to be cut out because you could see it's raised, and we can see the back of the repair that I did, so we'll need to fill all that in. And then a little bit on the bottom here, for which I've made some straight pieces. The front here, not too bad actually, a little bit there, but I'll still fill that in using one of the 3D printed molds. Before I start working on these top corners here that I've started to clean up, I've got to do the back of the corners I worked on the other side. So I've reinstalled my little mold here, tapped in a few more of the panel screws. Same thing on the other side here, where you can see a lot of that corner was missing there. So I've got to build up the other side, and I'll Bondo those in and then clean them up and start working on the other side of the cabinet. For those times when you have some damage on a straight edge, I also made these pieces, and you can print out multiple pieces. I have them in various sizes and connect them together, and that should fit snug. You could nail it if you wanted in, but now you can fill that in easily and not worry about getting any Bondo into the T-molding groove. Another thing you can do when you have a really large chunk missing here, and this was all ripped out and rotted out inside here once I cut out what was missing, is you can basically push a bunch of Bondo in there and then push the STL strip in there again, and it will form the groove in the channel. Obviously, it'll push it all into the spots and the cavities inside there mostly. And then when you're done, you can pull it out. You can obviously trim off clean up what squeezes out, and then also just with a razor, kind of trim off the little bits that you didn't get initially. Come back and clean that up. And you can see there was so much that I had to push in here. There's still some voids in the patch. So I'll just do it again. I'll put some more Bondo over these pieces. I'll push this into the patch here. And then as you can see here where it's, sorry if I move the camera a little bit, you can see here where it's almost perfect. That's what it'll look like over here. So I'm going to patch this up here, fill in some more voids here, and we're almost over here on the corner, some little spots, and then we're almost done patching the back of both sides of the cabinet. right, so that's all full now, looking good, and just needs to be sanded down. And I have a nice, it's all been filled in. I have that nice clean track through there. Still a little bit to patch up over here, but the piece I made wasn't long enough, so I'll do that next with maybe a smaller piece like this. After a couple of more applications of Bondo, I filled in all the air gaps that were in there. I've cleaned it up a little bit before I will put some initial paint on it. But you can see this whole corner has basically been completely reconstructed. Again, no router, just using those 3D printed forms that I made. And there's definitely still a lot to fix up on this cabinet, a lot of marks and things, but that's not my focus here. It's just demonstrating how without a router and a slot cutter bit, you can make these repairs with just some Bondo and a little elbow grease. Here is the completed corner with just a coat of black primer on there over the Bondo. And I'll follow it down here until it meets up with some of the normal wood and then goes back to the patched corner again. And obviously there's still a lot of repair work to do on the corner here, but you could see this is just one of the pieces that I took off. If I put it down here, you could see there was a substantial piece of the cabinet that was missing. That's all been reconstructed. So I could talk about applying the T-molding, etc. There's a lot of videos out there on that. This was really just about using those 3D printed forms to reconstruct the corner, and I think the results speak for themselves. I will mention one quick thing about matching paint colors to the cabinet. And for a popular cabinet like Star Wars, the paint codes are probably online. This is not a paid endorsement. This is something I bought with my own money. I backed Nick's on Kickstarter a long time ago. They have a little sensor. You can put it on a paint color. You can choose the brand of paint that you're using. I'm going to pick acrylics here, and you can scan it, and they will give you the closest match in that family to the color that you're scanning. So that's super helpful to be able to do that, especially for maybe a rare cabinet where the paint codes are not public information. That about wraps things up. I'll have a link to the files I used in the description for this video. I used them on my Star Wars cabinet, but they should be compatible with other cabinets from this general era, such as Gravatar here, Tempest, Space Duel. If you'd like me to create some files for a cabinet you're trying to restore, drop me a comment. As always, I'd appreciate a like or a subscribe. Has nothing to do with the YouTube algorithm. It just encourages me to keep making and sharing videos like this. Thanks very much. I'll see you next time.